Somewhere in your local hedgerow, right now, there is enough free food to see a family through winter. The blackberries, the sloes, the crab apples nobody bothers to pick. Your great-grandmother knew this. She filled her larder for the price of a scratched hand. Today, councils spray the verges, water companies eye your rainfall, and the supermarket would rather you forgot the whole thing. Number 6 could earn you a stern word from a warden. Number 1 fills a freezer for nothing. Hit that subscribe button and let us begin the countdown. Number 25. The rainwater butt. Let us start with the one the water companies quietly hate. A single downpour off an average British roof sends hundreds of litres straight down the drain, and they would much rather you paid for every drop through a meter. Your granddad simply stuck a barrel under the downpipe. Rainwater is soft, chlorine-free, and plants adore it far more than the treated stuff from the tap. He would water the runner beans and the tomatoes through the dry spells for absolutely nothing, keeping a glut of produce alive right through to the frosts. A proper butt costs around £30 now, or nothing at all if you salvage an old barrel. In some drought-hit corners of the country, there have even been mutterings about restricting it. Free water falling from the sky and somebody wants a license for it. Mad. Number 24. Comfrey. The liquid gold your neighbours will report you for. There is a plant that grows like a weed in half the gardens in Britain, and it makes a fertilizer so rich the garden centres charge a small fortune to bottle it. Your nan grew comfrey down the bottom by the compost, cut the leaves, and stuffed them into a bucket of water. 2 weeks later, she had a black, potent plant feed, packed with potassium, that made tomatoes and courgettes crop twice as heavy. Here is the catch: the smell. Rotting comfrey reeks like a blocked drain in August, and more than one neighbour has knocked on the door convinced something has died. But that stink is the price of free feed all summer, and a heavier harvest to pack away for winter. The garden centre bottle costs £8. The bucket costs nothing but a peg for your nose. Number 23. Nettle tops from the weeds you are told to spray. The council will send a leaflet telling you to poison them. Your great-grandmother picked them for tea. In early spring, the young nettle tops, the top 4 leaves only, are one of the most nutritious greens in the country, richer in iron than shop spinach, and utterly free. Wear a glove, snip the tips, and the sting vanishes the moment they hit hot water. She made a thick green soup with a potato and an onion, blanched the rest, and froze it in bags for winter stews. A carrier bag of nettles from a clean hedge, well away from the roadside and the dog walkers, gave a fortnight of greens for the cost of a stung thumb. We spend £3 on a bag of spinach that wilts in a day. She grew hers on the compost heap and called it a nuisance. Number 22. Planting the grass verge. Here is where it gets cheeky. The strip of grass between your gate and the road is council land, technically, and technically you are not meant to do a thing with it. Yet all across Britain there are quiet rebels tucking herbs, rhubarb crowns, and even fruit bushes into the verge and the awkward corners the mower never quite reaches. Guerrilla gardening, they call it now. Your nan just called it not wasting good ground. A clump of chives here, a gooseberry bush there, and by autumn there is free food growing on land you never paid for. The worst that happens is a strimmer takes it out, or a job's worth leaves a note. But most of the time nobody notices, and you are picking herbs for the Sunday roast off ground the council was only going to mow anyway. Number 21. Saving your own seed. This one really did brush up against the law. Under old seed marketing rules, it became illegal to sell seed from thousands of traditional varieties that were never registered on an official list, quietly killing off hundreds of heritage vegetables. But saving your own seed for your own plot, nobody can touch that. Your granddad let one prize-runner bean plant go to pod, dried the beans on the windowsill, and had next year's crop for free in an envelope in the drawer. Tomatoes, peas, beans, lettuce, all of it comes true from saved seed if you know the trick. A packet of seeds costs £3 or £4 now and gives you a single season. One saved plant gives you seed for a decade. The companies would much rather you bought fresh every spring, Your nan just kept an old biscuit tin full of envelopes. Number 20. The dandelion, the whole plant. We spend a fortune poisoning the one plant that feeds you top to bottom. The young leaves go in a salad, bitter and peppery. The flowers make a golden country wine and a syrup the Victorians called poor man's honey. And the roots, dug in autumn, roasted dark and ground, make a caffeine-free coffee that got Britain through the shortages when the real stuff vanished. Every part is edible, every part is free, and it grows in the cracks of the pavement. Your great-grandmother dug the roots from the lawn in October when they were fattest and never spent a penny on it. Today, the same lawn gets 3 treatments a year to kill the very thing she would have eaten. A tin of dandelion coffee in a health shop is nearly a £5. Hers came out of the flower bed. Number 19. Wild garlic, but leave the bulb. Come April, whole woodland floors turn white and smell of garlic, and it is all yours for the picking, so long as you know the one rule that keeps it legal. You may pick the leaves for your own kitchen. You may not dig up the bulb, because uprooting any wild plant without the landowner's permission is against the law. So your nan took a bag full of leaves and left the roots to spread. She blitzed them into a pesto with a bit of oil and whatever hard cheese was going, then froze it in ice cube trays, popping out a garlicky green cube into pasta and stews all winter long. A jar of shop pesto is £3 and full of things you cannot pronounce. Hers came from a bluebell wood and cost nothing but a Sunday walk and a carrier bag. Number 18. Elderflower cordial. For 3 weeks in June, the hedgerows froth with creamy elder blossom, and then it is gone. Your grandmother did not let a single head go to waste. She snipped the flat white flower heads on a dry morning when the scent was strongest, shook out the little beasties, and steeped them with sugar, lemon, and a scrap of citric acid from the chemist. The result was a cordial so fragrant that a splash in a glass of cold water tasted of high summer in the middle of January. Diluted, it stretched to gallons, and it froze beautifully in old plastic bottles for the winter. Old country law says you must ask the elder tree's permission before you cut it, or the spirit that lives in it will curse your milk. Whether you believe that or not, the cordial cost the price of a bag of sugar and gave a taste of June for months. Number 17. Elderberries, the autumn tonic. Come September, those same elder trees hang heavy with dark purple berries, and this is where the real winter magic happens. Your nan stripped the berries off the stalks with a fork, simmered them down with sugar and a few cloves, and made a thick, dark syrup she called elderberry rob. A spoonful in hot water at the first sign of a sniffle, and modern studies have actually backed her up, finding the berries genuinely loaded with the compounds that help fend off a cold. She bottled it, she froze it, and she swore by it every winter. Whole families got through the worst of the coughing season on a hedgerow that cost nothing. Never eat them raw, mind, they need cooking. But cooked and bottled, a free tree gave a whole winter's medicine. The chemist's version now sells for the better part of £10 a bottle. Number 16. Sloe gin from the blackthorn. Here is a trick that turns a vicious thorny hedge into Christmas in a bottle. The sloe is the small, bitter, blue-black fruit of the blackthorn, so sour raw it turns your mouth inside out. But your granddad knew the secret. You wait until after the first proper frost, when the skins soften, then you prick each one, drop them in a bottle with sugar, top up with cheap gin, and forget about it in a dark cupboard until December. By Christmas, the gin has turned a deep, glowing ruby and tastes like nothing money can buy. A bottle of shop-made sloe gin is well over £20. A hedge full of sloes is free. The frost does the work for you, and the only cost is the cheapest gin you can find and the patience to leave it alone. Number 15. Crab apples and free pectin. That scrubby little tree on the common with the hard, sour apples nobody eats? Gold. Crab apples are far too tart to bite into, but they are stuffed with natural pectin, the very thing that makes jam and jelly set. Your nan boiled them down, strained the pulp through an old pillowcase overnight, and turned the pink juice into a clear, blushing crab apple jelly that graced the tea table all winter. Better still, she added a handful of chopped crab apples to any runny jam to make it set without a shop-bought sachet. A box of pectin costs a couple of pounds, and the supermarket would love you to keep buying it. A single wild tree hands you a lifetime supply, and a dozen jars of jewel-bright jelly into the bargain, all from fruit the birds were only going to have. Number 14. Rosehip syrup. And here is where history gets interesting. During the Second World War, when the ships bringing oranges stopped coming and the nation faced a vitamin C crisis, the Ministry of Food did something remarkable. They organized whole villages, schoolchildren included, to go out and gather wild rose hips from the hedgerows, because those little red hips carry more vitamin C than an orange gram for gram. The scheme produced hundreds of thousands of bottles of rosehip syrup, and it kept a generation of children healthy through the darkest years. Your Nan learned it then and never stopped. She simmered the hips, strained out the irritating seeds and hairs carefully, and bottled a sweet red syrup for spooning over puddings or stirring into water all winter. The hips ripen after the first frost and hang on the wild dog rose well into the cold months. Free medicine that once helped save the nation. Number 13. The overhanging branch. Now, a proper legal loophole your granddad knew inside out. If a neighbor's apple, pear or plum tree hangs its branches over your fence, the fruit on your side is not simply yours for the taking. But here is the clever bit. You are entitled to cut back any branch that grows over the boundary onto your land. And once a windfall drops, an apple that has fallen from an overhanging branch onto your ground, well, it was going to rot on the grass anyway. Whole families kept themselves in stewed apple and crumble every autumn from fruit that would otherwise have fed the wasps. The polite thing, of course, is to offer the neighbor a jar of what you make. But the branch over your fence and the fruit that falls from it is a free orchard most people never even notice they own. Number 12. Apples wrapped in newspaper. Before every home had a chest freezer, your great-grandmother kept eating apples right through to the following spring. And she did it with nothing but old newspaper and a cool, dark shed. The trick was to pick only perfect, unblemished apples, wrap each one loosely in a sheet of newspaper so they never touched, and lay them in a single layer in a wooden tray. One bruised apple would rot the lot, so she checked them over often. The old saying about one bad apple being hard-won kitchen truth. Stored cool and dark, a good keeping variety like a Bramley lasted 5 or 6 months, feeding the family long after the tree was bare. We now pay for cold-stored apples flown halfway round the world. She kept a whole winter's supply in the shed for the price of last week's paper. Number 11. The root clamp. And this one feels almost forgotten. Here is a trick from a Britain before electricity in every shed, and it still works perfectly today. When your granddad lifted his potatoes, carrots and swedes in autumn, he did not have fridge space for a whole crop, so he built a clamp. A shallow bed of straw on the ground, a great pyramid of roots piled on top, another thick blanket of straw over that, and finally a covering of earth patted down smooth, with a little wisp of straw poking out of the top to let it breathe. Sealed in like that, protected from frost and light, the vegetables kept fresh in the ground all winter, drawn out as needed. No freezer, no electric bill, no plastic. A whole harvest stored for the cost of a bale of straw. Our grandparents fed themselves through winter with a pile of earth and knew exactly what they were doing. Number 10. Forced rhubarb under a bucket. In the hungry gap of late winter, when nothing much is growing, your Nan conjured sweet, tender rhubarb out of thin air. As the first pink buds appeared in February, she upturned an old bucket or a chimney pot over the crown to shut out all the light. Deprived of the sun, the plant threw up long, pale, impossibly tender pink stems, sweeter and more delicate than anything you can buy, reaching desperately upward in the dark. Within a few weeks, she was pulling forced rhubarb for the first crumble of the year, weeks before anyone else had a thing to pick. A punnet of forced rhubarb in the shops fetches a small fortune in that early season. Hers cost the price of an old bucket she had lying about, and the crown came back stronger every single year. Number 9. Blanch and freeze the glut. Every gardener knows the summer moment when the runner beans, the peas and the courgettes all come at once, far more than anyone can eat, and half of it goes soft on the vine. Your nan wasted none of it. The trick that kept the flavor and the color was blanching. A quick dunk in furiously boiling water, 30 seconds to 2 minutes depending on the veg, then straight into a bowl of ice-cold water to stop it cooking. That flash of heat kills the enzymes that would otherwise turn frozen veg to a grey, tasteless mush. Drained and bagged, her summer glut fed the family right through to spring, tasting almost as fresh as the day it was picked. This is the heart of the whole freezer trick. A summer's worth of free vegetables caught at their peak and locked away for the price of a bag of ice cubes. Number 8. Chutney and piccalilli from the odds and ends. Second half of the glut problem. Solved. What do you do with the green tomatoes that never ripened, the last knobbly marrow, the windfall apples too bruised to store? Your grandmother chopped the whole lot into a great pan with vinegar, sugar, and a fistful of spices, and simmered it down slowly until the house smelled sharp and sweet and the mixture turned dark and glossy. Chutney. It used up every last scrap the garden threw at her and sealed in jars it kept for a year or more, actually improving with age. Piccalilli did the same job with cauliflower and beans in a bright yellow mustard sauce. A single jar of decent chutney is nearly £4 now. Hers was made from the bits the supermarket throws in the bin, and it turned the tail end of the harvest into a shelf full of Christmas presents. Number 7. Field mushrooms. And here is where I must be careful. Controversy incoming, because this is the one trick where getting it wrong is genuinely dangerous. In autumn, the meadows and old pastures of Britain sprout field mushrooms and horse mushrooms, meaty, delicious, and completely free. And your granddad could fill a basket on a dewy September morning and fry them in butter for breakfast. He also knew absolutely exactly which ones to pick, because some of their lookalikes will put you in hospital or worse. This is not a trick to attempt from a video. It is one to learn from someone who truly knows their fungi, or from a proper guided foray. But learned properly, it is one of the great free feasts of the British year. A punnet of bland shop mushrooms is well over £1. A field of the real thing, gathered by someone who knows, costs nothing, and tastes of the season itself. Number 6. Roadkill. Right, brace yourselves, because this is the one that gets the strongest reaction, and it is not as mad as it sounds. In Britain, if you come across an animal already killed on the road, a pheasant, a rabbit, a partridge, you are generally within your rights to take it home, so long as you did not run it over yourself deliberately to have it. Strangely, the one person who cannot legally claim it is the driver who hit it. Country folk have quietly done this for generations. A plump pheasant knocked down on a quiet lane, fresh and undamaged, is a free roast dinner that would cost a fair bit from the game dealer. Your granddad checked it was fresh, checked it was undamaged, and thought nothing of it. It offends modern sensibilities, and it is not for everyone. But it is free, wild, organic meat, and letting good food rot on the tarmac would have baffled our grandparents entirely. Number 5. A few hens down the bottom of the garden. Nothing fills the kitchen quite like your own free eggs, and here is where the illegal label really does bite for some people. Keeping a few hens is perfectly legal, but check your deeds and your tenancy first, because plenty of properties carry old covenants banning livestock, and a noisy cockerel counts as a nuisance the council can act on. Your nan kept 3 or 4 hens on kitchen scraps and garden greens, and they paid her back with fresh eggs almost daily, plus rich manure for the vegetable beds. A half-dozen free-range eggs now costs the guts of £3. Her hens turned peelings and slugs into breakfast, and a spare glut of eggs pickled or preserved beautifully for winter. Keep no cockerel, keep the coop clean, and the neighbours never complain. The hens do the rest, quietly and for next to nothing. Number 4. Homemade cider and country wine. Now here is a trick where the line between legal and criminal is razor thin, so pay attention. Making your own beer, wine and cider at home for your own drinking is completely legal in Britain, and you owe not a penny in duty on it. Your granddad turned a wheelbarrow of free windfall apples into gallons of rough farmhouse cider every autumn, and elderflowers, dandelions and blackberries all became country wines that saw the family through Christmas. But, and this is the important bit, the moment you try to distill it into spirits, to make your own whiskey or gin, you have crossed into a genuine crime that needs a license and can land you in real trouble. So brew, ferment and press to your heart's content. Just never fire up a still. Free fruit, a bit of sugar and patience turned into a winter's worth of drink for almost nothing. Number 3. Pickled eggs and pickled onions. That great jar of pickled eggs on the pub counter and the sharp pickled onions with your ploughmans, your nan made both at home for a fraction of the price. When the hens were laying faster than the family could eat, she hard-boiled the surplus, dropped them into a jar of spiced vinegar and sealed them away. Weeks later, they were firm, tangy, and would keep for months in the pantry without a scrap of refrigeration. The onions were the same story. Small silver skin onions from the garden, salted, then packed in malt vinegar with peppercorns, ready to snap open at Christmas with cold meat and cheese. A jar of decent pickled onions is a couple of quid, and pub pickled eggs are a rip-off. Hers turned a summer glut of eggs and onions into a winter of sharp, crunchy free food that only got better with keeping. Number 2. Bottling fruit in Kilner jars. Before the freezer took over, this was how your great-grandmother caught the summer and held it captive. Plums, pears, damsons, gooseberries, all of it went into those heavy glass Kilner jars with the rubber seals, packed tight with a light sugar syrup, then heated in the oven or a pan of water until the lids sealed with a satisfying pop. Done properly, the fruit kept for a year or more on a shelf. No electricity, no freezer, just glass and heat and care. A row of jars in the pantry, damsons glowing dark red, pears pale gold, was a wall of free food gathered from the garden and the hedgerow across the whole of summer and autumn. The jars themselves lasted decades, passed down through families. We now pay a fortune for tinned fruit that tastes of nothing. Hers tasted of the orchard, months after the last leaf had fallen. And finally, number 1. Blackberry and apple. It had to be this, the greatest free feast in the whole of Britain, because it costs absolutely nothing and it fills a freezer better than anything money can buy. Come late summer, the hedgerows drip with blackberries, thousands of them, free for the picking on every lane and footpath in the land, protected in law for exactly this purpose. Your nan took the children out with old ice cream tubs, stained purple to the elbows, and gathered pounds of them in an afternoon. Add the free windfall apples from number 13, stew the two together with a little sugar, and you have the finest crumble filling in the world, ready to bag and freeze in family portions. Old folklore says you must have them picked by Michaelmas, the 29th of September, before the devil spits on the brambles and spoils them. Superstition or not, a single autumn afternoon in the hedgerow, and a freezer packed with free puddings until spring. That is the whole trick, and it has fed British families for centuries. So there you have it, 25 tricks your grandparents knew by heart, and half of them the council, the water company or the supermarket would rather you never tried. Pick one this week, just one. Wrap some apples in newspaper, brew a bottle of sloe gin, or fill a tub with blackberries before the frost. Then tell me in the comments which one you are going to do and whether your own nan had a trick I have missed. Because this was never really about saving money. It was about knowing how to feed yourself from the land around you, the way we always used to. Your grandmother knew. Now you know too.